Greetings everyone, I am Anime Master. Welcome back to another Sonic 1 hacking tutorial. Okay, so in the last episode we started to import little bits of of different art from different games. We imported a tree and we imported a new sort of like statue over the totem. So yeah, we use SomAppD for that. I showed you guys, different things you can do. It's easier to use that than really SonEd 2. SonEd 2 is a little bit more difficult for that sort of thing. But we are going to step back a little bit from SomAppD for now. We will get back into it. So it's kind of the end of the object art and more of the just importing side. I know you guys have been kind of wanting this to happen quite soon, so yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going now for the art side. Is the importing stuff now. So with that said, we are actually going to not only divert from SomAppD, we're going to divert from Green Hill Zone completely. We are going to edit Spring Yard Zone. Now we don't have to. I was going to choose Starlight Zone. I want to choose a level that's fairly easy to edit, because we're going to be importing a background today, I should say. Now, just to note, we're not going to do anything too complicated. We're not going to import backgrounds from sprite sheets or level art like that, because that's a little bit more tricky when using SonEd 2. But I will get into that most likely in another video, like I say, in a sort of tips video, and I'll also go into SomAppD for different things as well. It's a little bit more tricky. So we're actually going to import art from another Sonic game, Sonic 3, only because it's easier to do, and this will do for the demonstration. So with that said, first thing I'm going to do is open Spring Yard Zone. Now again, you can use Starlight Zone if you want, but for this tutorial I decided to go for Spring Yard Zone. As you can see, it's all there. So we want to import a background, I should say. So with that said, if we go to Level Editor Plane B, and here's our background. Lovely job. Yep. Okay, so let's just right click, and we've got a background there. So the first thing I'd recommend to do is we need to destroy. We need to delete the tiles. So in case you guys, in case you want to make sure you're deleting the right tiles, I'd recommend open up one of the BG chunks, and then just press A and Z to scroll through the chunks. And then I would go to Tile Editor, go to the right correct palette line, like let's see. Like here, I'm going to do it for this background. Note that some backgrounds, I think even like maybe I could say all of the backgrounds in Sonic 1, I think all of them, or nearly all of them, actually uses two palette lines. Like for here, this actually is the second palette line, or palette line 2, and this is palette line 3, or palette line 4 if you like. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3. So I say it in that sort of tense, but there are 4 palette line rows, so palette lines. So yeah, it's kind of the fourth one, but kind of isn't, if you know what I mean. It's the fourth one anyway. With that said, yeah, so backgrounds like these actually use both. That can be a little bit tricky when importing art, because sometimes, obviously, like for example, this has to use colors from this palette line and this palette line, whereas your background might need to use this as well, but say, I don't know, has too many colors, and you can't do it. So you need to be aware of things. If they have too many colors, you might have to reduce the color, or if you can somehow resolve it so that your image goes around with your current palette line, because remember, we don't really want to affect the FG, we just want to put background. So unless you're going to go around, say, editing all your FG, your FG color as well, to assign your background, obviously you got to make sure your FG still looks correct. You don't want to just mess around with the colors and say, oh, my background's in, perfect, I got it in now, and then your FG is all multicolored and everything. So just be aware of that. Anyway, with that said, guys, I'm going to carry on, and I'm not going to do it I'm just going to basically show you. So yeah, you go into your tiles and say for example I go to here and I'll just show you Control D once your mouse is selected on the correct or your cursor I guess is correct tile. Control D deletes it. Do it again, 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 etc. Keep doing that until you've got rid of all of the BG colors, all of them, all the the tiles, all of the blocks. So I'd be like Control D, 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 etc. You don't have to do the chunks, but you can do if you want. I'm going to leave the chunks for now because I'm going to keep things really simple. Things to note is if you delete chunks and you've got other chunks like below, sometimes because say for example I've pasted, I don't know, 49 and then I delete 48, 49 then slots into 48, so I go over to my layout and it's still saying 49 but it isn't 49, if you see what I mean. It's this chunk where it should be that chunk. Do you see what I mean? So you got to be aware when you delete things how it's going to actually affect your layout, both, you know, the FG and the BG, the background and the foreground. So things to be aware about, and like I say, make sure to back up, test things, always test, you know, you don't like it, revert back, etc. So I'm not going to do this right now because I do actually have it done already, so I'll just set that up for you guys in just a sec. Okay guys, so here we are. So I've deleted my blocks, cut it down, deleted my tiles, that's all good. We're going to close this for now. Now I was mentioning that I'm basically going to be importing art from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Now I know the zone I want to do it from, but I'm not going to use a sprite sheet because like I said, it's actually more difficult when using Sonic D2, unless anyone knows a better way, of course. I've always felt like it's still kind of difficult when it comes to sprite sheet, a lot of converting, a lot of getting everything right, you know, palette line correctly and stuff. I'll get into it when I get into it, but right now we're going to do something very simple and just port over a background from another game, just to say, you know, if you guys want to try it, just so you sort of understand how to import stuff and how things can work. This is the simple way, you know, if you want to maybe import from a Sonic CD. Basically we need Son ED. Now if you don't actually have the original Son ED, I will put a link in the description for it. It's on Sonic Retro as well, so yeah, it'll be in the program section, but I will put a link there of course. And we need Son ED. Now Son ED isn't used for disassemblies, it's actually used for like full blown ROMs. So say like you only want to do layout editing, then you could technically use Son ED. How Son ED works is you have to have your ROMs. So you open up Son ED, you find your ROM. Let's see, I need to go to my computer, I need to go to S3K, there we go, there's my ROM. And then what it will ask you for is a save state. Now how it works is basically using an emulator, say Kega Fusion, you can use what is known as save states. Let's see if I can just explain what I mean. Screen probably just went blank there. So if we go to file and you load your ROM, say like I go to, I don't know, Casino Night Zone, not Casino Night Zone, Carnival Night Zone, which is what I actually did. When you get there, you save state as. Obviously it won't work because I haven't got anything open, but you save state as, name it Casino Act 1, Act 2. I think you have to do it separately for each act. It's a little annoying, but like I say, that's why Son ED and Son ED 2 is kind of a bit better in that sort of thing, you know. But so you don't need a disassembly for Son ED. You can just open it as long as you got the ROM. You know you can do that. So if I just close this, yeah, close Fusion, because I've already done it. I've basically save stated, so I need to go to my Genesis stuff. See, like all these states are like just general states I've done and stuff. So I want to find casino, which I think is it this one? I think it's this one. Open, and it'll always say this. It will say attempt to load 8x8 tiles run failed, but it has. Attempt to load, but it has. No, but it has. There you go. Here's Casino Zone in all its glory from Sonic 3K. So yeah, Knuckles' path down there, Sonic and Tails' path at the top there. There we have it. For all that. Awesome. So this is Sonic D. Okay, now it's slightly different. Mainly a lot of it's the same. I don't think you can import anything, but you can dump stuff. You can export stuff, but you can't import stuff as far as I know. So yeah, obviously if you want to go to plane B, you know, this is pretty much what it is. And everything. Now, so yeah, we want the background, but the first thing we need to do is we want to delete. Okay, I don't want that. Let me. This is a slight issue that Sonic D has, is that if you just want to like select a tile like you do in Sonic D2 and just delete a tile, for some reason if you're hovering over a certain tile, it will delete it before you even do anything. I don't know why, but in case you need to you know, revert things back, just go to read data and then save state all, and then everything returns back to normal. So anyway, I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to go to plane. No, wait, I don't even need it yet, sorry. I've already got my tiles, so now I could just delete all this, because I don't need this. This is like to do with the mini-boss, and we don't need any of this, so let's just delete all the unnecessary tiles. Now, as far as I know, because normally in Sonic D2, what you can actually do is press Control, and then you use the arrow keys to, obviously I'm scrolling, that's not what I want, but you do this normally to decrease or increase the size, the layout, the size of the layout in Sonic D. Oh, missed a tile. Can't seem to do that in Sonic D, so there's nothing I can do about that now, but normally I do that so that I can cut off all this blankness, so I've only got this. Anyway, now we've pretty much got our tile. We can still export it because this is blank, so it's not really going to affect anything. So I'm just going to, well, okay, maybe you can import. It says load PCX image, but I've never really bothered here. We want to go to plane B high and low. It would be plane B all in the Sonic D2. So yeah, plane B high and low, and it will put it as a PCX file. I'm just going to put, say, well, actually no, I've done it, so I won't do it. But you know, this is pretty much what you do. Cancel. Now, before we do that, something else we need to do as well. Let's go to the tile editor and go to the palette line. And what we need to do is we need this background. Now, luckily, this background is only for this palette line. So what we do is just go to Sonic D2. Again, I've already done it, so I won't show you. I won't like you know, redo it. And we basically just look over and say, okay, this is 8 to C, and it's a light grey. And you pretty much just toggle down on the arrows, as we've been doing in the slight palette editing, as I was saying, in the previous ones. And there you go. And repeat that until you get your correct palette line. Now, a thing to note, this blankness is like your background color, which is on the second palette line here, or the third if you like, and so I'd pretty much just be like adjusting that, and that affects like the background. It's just for blank tiles in the background, you know, your transparent part of it. But anyway, so yeah, once you've exported it and you've done your everything there, just close like so. Now we shouldn't need to do anything, but in case you just want to have a look at the file, I'm trying to remember where. Yeah, I think this is it. So yeah, this is where I might put my files in. So say for example, I want to look at this. Don't look at it in just like any old thing. You want a program that's called it's like Earth. I can never say it correctly. Hang on a sec. Yeah, okay. Like IR Fan. We'll just say IR Fan. I guess that's what it's called. IR Fan View. It's a really good editor. again, link in the description. I don't know if I mentioned this or if I've given you guys a link of it at all, but I'll just give one anyway just to make sure. It's been a while, guys, since I recorded this stuff, so I've tried to go back to see what I've said and what I haven't said and whatnot, but it is really difficult. This can open various different images, different image types. One of them being PCX. Another program you can use is PaintShop Pro, which I've got here, or Photoshop Elements. Again, I'll get into that probably in another video. So basically, you can do a lot of things. Obviously, you can save this image to a different image type, but what we can do is we can like resize things. We can increase or decrease the color depth. Now, if you were doing, say, a sprite image, it would probably have so many colors that, you know, the Mega Drive Sonic 1 can't have. You know, it can only have like 32 colors. I think it's 32, and like another 32 for like underwater palette. I think it's something like that. So you know, you could decrease the color depth to, you know, 256 colors or so. So, you know, or custom to have whatever colors you want. In this case, I don't need to, because look, it's already done. It's already what it should be. Now, if we want to look at the colors, we go to palette down here, we go to edit palette, and that's pretty much kind of a Night Zones palette right there. That's everything. Remember, the first line is always Sonic or Tails or Knuckles. So, but it's always part of the file anyway, sort of thing, when you open things up. So, you know, even though it's still separate, like Sonny D and Sonny D2 opens up, obviously, Sonic's palette, or, you know, whatever the player one character's palette line is, but it's always the third and the fourth, or the second and the third, basically. The foreground and the background. So in case you guys want to know, but there's not really much really need to do here. You know, I just wanted to show you guys, and as I'm going to get into this actual program when we do other stuff. It's a good program. Definitely recommend you to download it. It is free, of course. So yeah, really good. Anyway, I was just checking. If you want to have a look at the size, just go to resize, and you know, this is what it says. You know, I mean, what you could really do is, I suppose, if you could go, you could like convert this file. You could, I don't know, open Paint, shrink it so it'd be like that, save it, open it up in plain, you know, in IOFan view, save it back to PCX file and import. Never actually tried that, if I'm honest, like convert one to convert back sort of thing, because you know, sometimes images, even if you convert them, you know, that reduces the quality and whatnot, so you gotta be careful of that. But for the most part, this program does a pretty damn good job, so you know, you could try that. I'm gonna leave it though, because these tiles are blank, so I ain't worried for anything. Anyway, I'll close. So I've now got my file, and what I'm doing is I'm actually going to just go to my file, palette, where is it? Here's the CNZ file. I'm going to change Spring Zone to just Spring Zone old. Change this to Spring Zone. So now that's the background palette. Lovely jubbly. Go back to Sonny D2. Open. Go to Spring Zone. And this is our palette now. Now I have changed the foreground palette to be this color. This is basically just what I wanted, really. You know, so this is what I've changed it to. And obviously we're blank, but this is the palette I've got. I like this red. I like this tint of red. It's nice. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyway, with that being said, now we should be able to just import the art. So we want to go to MISC. No, I don't want that. I need to go to File. And a thing to note is Sonic 1 is 2x6 by 2x6, and Sonic 2 onwards, like Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, is 128 by 128. Now in this case it doesn't really matter, because 128 by 128 if you times that by 2, it's 256 by 256. So luckily we can put the 128 chunks together to make 256, 256, etc. Or double that, which is 512 times 512. If you're still with me. Hopefully you're still with me. Hopefully I haven't completely confused you yet. Anyway, so, you know, our file is, I think, 512 by 800 something, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, that's fine. We only care about the 512 bit, because the other bits is blank, so it'll be essentially 512 by 512, which is, like I said, 256s. So that's fine. That's fine for Sonic 1. There's nothing to worry about there. So, if we go to import, we find our file, I go to my palette, and I go here, I believe that's correct, open, wait a little bit, don't immediately move about, because one thing I've noticed is that especially if you have too many tiles to import, Sonny D2 takes a little time to process it. If you try and move, it will freeze and it will crash. Sometimes it will just crash instantly if Sonny D2 don't like the file. Sometimes if you convert things wrong, like, you know, PGN to IOFAM without doing other stuff, then it'll be like, oh, this is a PGM file. Like, that's like it knows, and it crashes. So, you know, I'll explain how to get around that, and so it doesn't happen. Anyway, first thing I do is go to tile. We've got some tiles here. Now, if you want to know, like, how many tiles were in Springwise Zone before, you can go again, revert, you can open, you can have a look and say it was 300 or something. Now I think it was like 370, 80 or something like that. This is under it. This is 342 tiles, so I know this is not going to go past the limit, and it's not going to start overwriting, you know, other bits of art, other bits of level art, because it's the last thing we want. Let's have a look at our blocks. Hey, there's our blocks. And then let's go to our chunks. Now, what Sonny D2 does, it doesn't import over stuff, unfortunately. It sort of does and doesn't. It basically, if there's no blank tiles, it will import it as new blank tiles. If there are blank tiles at the end, it will overwrite those blank tiles. Of course, be wary, because sometimes blank tiles are left there in a level for, say, animated graphics like flowers in Green Hill Zone. So, you know, you might need to, you know, create some new art tiles or something, you know, just so that when you import your background or your whatever you're doing in Sonny D2, it won't overwrite those blank tiles that could possibly be used for animated graphics in the level. So, you know, just be aware of that. But basically it imports it after all your chunks have ended, in a way. So if the last chunk I had was 45, it will then go to 4B, etc. So keep going. Okay, so all the way down there. That's fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete all these blank chunks until the background comes up like so. There we go. Good. I don't really need this, but that's fine. So yeah, cool. Now what you can just do here, you can basically just go you know, if you want to keep things very simple, what you could do is just copy these background chunks here, and you see how at the cursor here says chunk at cursor 3F. This was what the BG chunk was. You could just go to that, you know, and then go Control P, sorry, to paste, and then, you know, and then, you know, there you go, background. Yeah, for the most part that's pretty much it. Awesome. It's like paranoia, I just like to just go through and make sure that chunks are okay, they look okay, looks good, etc. So in theory I can press Control Z, which does delete chunks and tiles in ARP, but Control Z removes tiles from the bottom. Control D removes what you're highlighted, what your cursor's highlighted. So just remember that. If anyone needs control, like if you want to know like different commands in Sunny D2, don't know if I mentioned this, but there should be in the README file a list on different functions that you can do. So if you're unsure, or if I might have made a mistake and said, it's not control this, control that. Just double check if you'd like. You can go back, and I'm pretty certain in the README file it does have a list of commands in Sunny D2, in case you guys want to know. Okay, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty happy. I'm not completely happy. Something doesn't feel right. Well, for one thing, the mountains, wrong colour. Here it doesn't quite look right. Now here's the problem when importing art. There's another thing you have to be aware of, and that is palette cycling. Now what palette cycling is basically, well, the best way to describe it is it's what it says on the tin. It cycles through palette lines. So imagine you've got a dark blue, a lighter blue, a lighter blue, lighter blue to white, and then you create a code for that palette cycling, so that it will cycle through that palette, so it will animate from dark to white. Do you see what I mean? That's used for things like water, so it looks like the water is flashing or animated, or like a waterfall. It makes it look like the waterfall is animated going down. This is used for things like backgrounds, like lights, like lights in the foreground, like Spring Yard Zone. Now that's why I was going to choose Starlight Zone, because I don't think it really has that problem so much. But I decided to go to Spring Yard Zone anyway, because I figured, it would be good to explain what will happen if you just, say, import art over the Spring Yard Zone, and then your background starts flashing like crazy, and you're like, what is it doing this? Now, two things you can do. You can go into sonic1.asm, which is your ASM file. Like I said, I haven't touched up on this really yet, because I will do when we do assembly coding, but I'm not doing that yet. Now you can go in here and you can say, go to PAL cycle, because that's what it is in this routine. PAL cycle, and you can look for the routine, PAL cycle Spring Yard Zone, and you could just delete it. Copy, delete. If you don't want it, get rid of it. MZ doesn't have one, but it has animated graphics, so that's why I haven't done that. Spring Yard Zone has its lights and whatnot, so if you don't want them, if you don't mind Spring Yard Zone not having those light lights and things, then just get rid of it. If you still want those lights, but obviously you don't want your background flashing like crazy, this is what you can do. And this is what I'm going to do, because I actually want part of my background to flash a little bit like the lights, because it would make sense. It's because it's casino, it's kind of a night zone. So with that being said, let's go to our background. Now the reason it's like this is because I've done this already, and now I don't really quite understand why. It might be due to Sonic 3 and Knuckles' PAL cycling for the lights in the background, but there's actually two of the same color. So this, for example, is like a greenish kind of color. This was actually like a dark blue, and I had a look later on the palette line, and I was like, well, this is dark blue, and it's exactly the same. I'm not kidding. And there's another color that's exactly the same, and I'm like, but why? This is strange. With that said, this color green is where the PAL cycling code would pick it up, so this would flash like crazy. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to change it so that it doesn't basically use this color. Now because it's very simple, this is basically a repeated tile. So if I change one, it's going to change pretty much all of it. And then that's all we do, guys. We do this. We don't need to do anything like we did for Spring Yard Zone. Not Spring Yard Zone, so Green Hill Zone. We save it. We have done everything. Now I'm leaving these. These will flash, but I prefer it that way. Again, you know, if you want to edit the power cycling to maybe slow to slow it down, I'll leave it now. You can. If you want to change the palette so that it fits better for the FG, then you can. This is what I've got though. I've saved it. Okay. Let's close everything. Let me open Fusion. Well, before that, make sure to go to your file, build bat. Okay. Just double check. Yep, that's all good. Okay. Actually, if I just close that for a second, just need to plug my controller in. So it's a lot easier. I prefer to use the controller. There we go. Open that. Close that. Right. Go to our file. We don't want Sonic 3K anymore, so let's go to Sonic Water. Okay. Hopefully, we should be all good, guys. If we go to level select, fingers crossed, and that's it, guys. We've pretty much got it. As you can see, I fixed the top of the mountains. You know, the little glittering bits is fine because it's like lights sort of thing. And like I say, you've got the lights down there thanks to Spring Yard Zone's power cycling. And you know what? I'm happy with that. I'm absolutely fine. I wanted it. You know, makes the background pop out a little bit more. I may alter it later on when it comes to coding, but you know, for the most part, I'd say it's successful. It's all been imported, no problems. And like I say, it's easier to port from, say, Sonic 3, Sonic 2, because they have disassemblies, and you can actually use SonED or SonED 2 to actually export the files directly, because they're in the same format. However, when you're doing from sprites, that's why you have to do a lot of converting and whatnot, and try and get things, you know, correct and everything. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, guys. So yeah. Hope this helped you in this tutorial. Next tutorial, not sure. We may go for something completely different, or we may go and carry on and do some more importing art. I'm not too sure quite yet. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope this is helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Take care.